Liverpool beat Athletic Club in a great doubleheader at Anfield filled with great standout performances, but also some revealing truths about our season readiness. Let's look at three things that we've learned from this doubleheader. Number one, and very obvious, is our centre-back depth or the lack thereof. I think it's very revealing when you have to play two games and you only have one out-and-out centre-back that you need to do something about your centre-back positions. And I think the most obvious and most plausible option is that Arne Slot and the team are going to dip into the transfer market and look at the likes of Mark Gay, who we've been linked to, and try and sign them. But I think the silence in that news and that transfer link is a bit concerning, and I'd like to see Liverpool either look at other options or get this over the line even before we move for Alexander Isak, who's very interested in a move, but we're still playing a bit of chess with Newcastle United. So I think signing somebody at centre back who might go straight into the team is very critical for Liverpool. But I think there are other options that maybe Arne Slot and the team might be exploring, as we've seen in the preseason games. And the first option, I think, is the utility players such as Endo and other players, but I don't think these fill the fans with much confidence going into the Premier League season that's going to be grueling with attackers coming at us. Even though I think Endo, for example, has played particularly well every time we've asked him to play at centre back, but I think his lack of height and lack of pace might be something that comes to bite Liverpool if we continue with that approach. I think another approach that the team and Arne Slot might be looking at is bringing somebody from the academy, but I think this is very unlikely because it's proven in the past that centre back is one of the most difficult positions to fill with academy players. We've been very brilliant at integrating academy players throughout the team, but I think throughout the last 5 years, the likes of Nat Phillips and Gerald Kwanzaa are probably the only two that have played significant roles at centre back. So it's difficult to integrate academy players into the first team. So I don't think this approach is going to be the likely approach for Arne Slot and the team. The second thing that we might have learned from these two games is the amount of attacking options that we have. We've seen a standout performance once again from Rio Ngomoa and showing us different facets to his game. And I think the key difference between him and some of the older left wingers that we have in the team is that most mature players are coached to play percentage games, and that's why you see most of the time the likes of Cody Gakpo will often look for the safe option or the guaranteed option. That's why they'll either try to cut back until they're in a very safe position to be shooting, or they'll pass the ball back if they're afraid of losing the ball. And that's just something that's built in by long-term coaching, and the modern game requires so much safety and so much not losing the ball that when you see the likes of Rio Ngomoa come into the game, very young, very raw, and just playing by instinct and just taking on players and not afraid to lose the ball because they back themselves to work very hard when they lose the ball to win it back, but also back the skill that they have to do something amazing every time they're on the ball. You see them as a very good option, as we saw in this particular game, in the first game where we featured the B team. He was very good at taking on players, and his first goal is just amazing. Taking on players from the midfield and running into the edge of the box and pulling off an amazing shot where you probably see most players like Cody Gakpo maybe try something else in that position. And this is not criticism of Cody Gakpo. I think I've already said in previous videos that Cody Gakpo is going to be one of the standout players for Liverpool in this season, and we've seen evidence from the goals that he's already scoring in the pre-season. So I think in attack we have a lot of depth and we have a lot of tactical constellations that we can try out in attacking positions. And I think I like the fact that Ben Doak played and scored and showed a brilliant position, a brilliant performance in that position, because it means we have a bit more options to cover Mo Salah in that side as well. And we've seen in preseason games already that Jeremy Frimpong is an able cover for Mohamed Salah in that right wing position as well. And I think the great performance from Hugo Ekitike Ekitike, and getting his assist was very good. But I think overall he had a very good performance, and we've said in previous videos that he's displaying some Bobby Firmino like kind of play, but with a lot of pace. I think I was surprised to see how quick he is over the long distance, and that's how his goal is produced, with running at players, getting on the byline and cutting back a brilliant ball for Mo Salah to score. So I think in attacking positions we are very stacked, and that's amazing to see because it means we have options, and in different games we can play different attackers and change up games as we see fit. I think the third thing that we learned from this game is that Arne Slot is looking to be very adaptable with his formations and changes, either before games or between games or in games themselves. And for this, we need to look at players such as Szoboszlai, Mohamed Salah, and Gravenberch, who I think are the players that are going to play the most minutes in this Premier League season coming, because number one, they offer different positional plays. The lack of Szoboszlai can play, as we've seen in preseason, number 10, number 8. He can also play at right back when it is necessary. Mo Salah can play as an out-and-out right wing, as we've seen in games where he's playing with Bradley. He can play as that inside forward in games where he's playing, such as yesterday when he was playing with Frimpong. And that's going to be great for Arne Slot, because it means if he needs to change something up in the game, Mohamed Salah is a player that he's going to need to stay on the pitch. And in games where he needs to change something up, either in the midfield or in the right back position, we see that Szoboszlai is going to be a player that's going to be needed in games, even when we're making changes to bring players off. And I think it's telling the fact that Florian Wirtz had to come off before Dominic Szoboszlai had to come off, that he found that if we're not using Florian Wirtz at the number 10 position, it's best to rest him and allow another player to come and play in that position. Whereas with Szoboszlai, he's a player that you can keep on the field and just move him to another position, and that's great. And I think on Szoboszlai, he's a player that's been amazing in this preseason in terms of his work rate, and basically he just looks like a player that just wanted to prove his worth to Liverpool in this whole preseason, and he's been doing very well, even though at times I've criticized the balance of the midfield when he's playing, and not to put the blame on him, but I just felt that there was a lack of synergy in the midfield when he's playing as that number 8 with Gravenberch playing the 6. They didn't have a very good understanding between each other on when to cover and when to go forward. It felt at times that Szoboszlai was just playing everywhere and neglecting that positional discipline that's required when you're playing alongside a 6 such as Gravenberch. But I think in the game yesterday we saw a bit more maturity, and we saw how necessary Szoboszlai is going to be in this coming season. And that leads me straight to Gravenberch. That's another player that's going to be very integral in this season coming, who can play various positions in that midfield. And yesterday I was glad to see that we saw a bit more attacking from Gravenberch, because he's very good at interplay and link up play, even in forward positions, and I think it's very good that we could see him play in that position. One thing that we fear is getting those injuries in midfield, and I think we have a bit more cover in those positions than we did in the previous season, because we can see Gravenberch rested for McAllister, or Szoboszlai rested for McAllister, or those 3 interchanging positions and getting a bit more rest in some games. But I think Trey Nyoni is another player that is impressed in this preseason, in the whole preseason, but most especially yesterday. He's another player that's going to give us a different facet for Arne Slot when trying different tactics, because we saw already yesterday, as young as he is, if necessary he can cover at centre back, and I don't think that's something that we're going to see a lot in this Premier League season. but having that maturity and that understanding to play in that position makes him even more valuable as a six. But I think overall this preseason has been a good preseason. We've got to be able to see all the players that Arne Slot has brought in and how they gel in with the other players that already existed in the team. And I think apart from addressing the very big problem at centre back and bringing in more bodies to cover those positions, I think overall we can expect a really good and exciting season from Liverpool.